Hello and welcome to my Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 friends. In this video I'm going to walk through steps to how to bring 3D photogrammetry into the sim. Before we begin, you will need this tool, EARTH2MSFS. You can download this tool at GitHub and the link is in the information below. In addition, you will need to know how to build an MSFS package. If you've never built a package before, I will refer you to my tutorial on package building. The link is above. Or you may go to another creator of your choice to learn how to build packages. Without further delay, I will jump into the work. Before I begin, I'm going to show you a couple examples. You may ask yourself, do I need 3D photogrammetry? Well, you don't really need it, but if you're into realism and everything being accurate as possible for the immersion of the sim, then I do recommend it. What we're looking at right now is Nashville, Tennessee, where I live. I moved here in 2015. The very first night I was here in 2015, I went to a Nashville Sounds baseball game. And when I bought the sim right out of the box, here's Nashville. As you can see, Nashville does have 3D photogrammetry out of the box in the sim. I began looking around the town, finding places that I'm familiar with, and one of the first things I noticed is the Sounds baseball stadium is missing. I'll show you. This is the Nashville Sounds baseball stadium. And then I started asking myself, well, if I moved here in 2015 and I'm in year 2021, how old are these maps? I don't know the answer to that, but they're older than 7 years old. It always bugged me that I'd fly over Nashville and I would not see familiar sights. And then I learned about this EARTH2MSFS tool. Now I'm going to move over to another location. This patch of dirt here is the Ascend Amphitheater. It was also here when I moved in 2015. As you can tell, it's a pile of dirt. Not to mention the bridges do not look very good, but that's part of the sim, and I guess we have to deal with that. Okay, back in Nashville, you will see that I was able to bring the Nashville Sounds baseball stadium into the sim by using the tool I mentioned earlier. And it looks pretty good all the way down to the guitar that's out in center field. Now let's move over and see what Ascend Amphitheater looks like. And now you can see that Ascend Amphitheater is where it belongs, like it is now today if I go there. And you also may notice that the bridges look a lot better, because when I actually built this package, I added the bridges to it, and it brought the bridges in as they look right now in real life, and not that generated thing that was in the sim. And in addition, there's a park here called Cumberland Park, and I brought all this into Earth. I did this with one package. I'm going to show you one more example, and then we'll get into building. Okay, we're now in Charlotte, North Carolina, a relatively large-sized city in the United States. But as I move closer to the city, you will see that everything is AI generated in terms of the buildings and the scenery. You may be okay with that, but that really bothers me because I know the city looks better than this. Also, this is where the Carolina Panthers, a United States NFL football team, plays, and that is not a very good looking stadium. This is not realistic at all. So let's see what it looks like once I use the Earth tool on Charlotte. We are back at Charlotte, North Carolina. I have my Earth mod into my community package, and let's see what the city looks like now. That is exactly what Charlotte, North Carolina looks like in real life. You see the Panther Stadium looks really good now. The buildings has a decent amount of detail. Looks like one here is under construction. If you zoom in, you can even see some of the wording on the billboards at the stadium. There you go. It is Bank of America Stadium. You can even see the Panthers logo and the state Carolina. At this point in time, hopefully you've seen there is value to this tool and it can make your cities look better. I will move on and show you how to use the tool. For this tutorial, I'm going to go back to my roots and use the city in which I was born and spent the majority of my life in. This is a small town in West Kentucky of about 35,000 people. And you can already tell by looking at the buildings, they are all generated by the simulator's artificial intelligence. But I do want to focus on this one complex right here. As you can see, it's there, but it's not in 3D. This is a retirement home, a 16-story retirement home. Yet, no matter which way I move my camera, the building is flat to the ground. Of course, this is going to drive me nuts because I like realism, as I stated earlier. We're going to fix that though with this EARTH2MSFS tool. Hopefully at this point in time you have the tool downloaded, and now we will begin. The first step is our package. Now hopefully at this time you have a package built. Again, if you do not know how to build packages, I do have a tutorial on building packages, or you can find plenty of tutorials on YouTube to help walk you through package building. But I have my package ready to go and built. It's right here, and I'm going to drill into this and show you step one. Step one, we want to open the package up, and we want to go to Package Sources. We're going to delete Model Lib and Scene. This is important. We're going to leave this at this state right here because we're going to use this link. I'm going to copy the path to the package sources that I recently deleted Model Lib and Scene folders. So we'll copy it, and where it says output folder, we're going to paste it there. Now I have my path set up. Now I just have to take this tool and move it to the city. And once I get in here, I can kind of see the area I want. I'll explain to you some of the things I learned in using this. You can get greedy and take too much of the area. And once you do that, the package becomes so large that A, it can either cause the sim to crash, or B, the package is so large that it takes hours for the package to build. So we don't really want to do that. So I'm going to keep this kind of modest and take care of this downtown area. Got everything pretty much where I want. I can see my building there. I want to make sure I grab that. So I'll take these railroad tracks and kind of use it as a line. The map does line up north, south, east, and west. So if you have a city that's a little angled like this city, it can make it a little difficult. but you can figure out how to make it work. So what I want to do is take my right mouse button, keep it held down, and I can drag and get as much of the city as I want. Keep in mind, we don't want to have too large a package. So now I have selected what I want. Let's look at the level of detail. I have found that 17, so I'll move to 17, and 19, I'll move down to 19, works the best in the sim. It doesn't create packages that are too large, but yet it gives enough detail for a flight simulator that it works. So you have a 17, and 18 will be included, and 19. I have my area selected, I have my level of detail, and now I'm just going to simply download. And now the download is finished, and I can move this tool out of the way. If I look into my folder, I now have another model lib and scene. Inside this is all the objects and the photogrammetry that we need. One thing I failed to mention is you cannot use this tool just everywhere in the world. You can only use it in locations that has the aerial 3D photogrammetry. I'm fortunate that my hometown, even though it is small, does have 3D photogrammetry. But if I decided I want to just go out in the country and bring in 3D, it may not be there. You'll actually bring it in, but it would just be a flat mesh and will not work for the purposes you want it to work. And sometimes you don't know if it has 3D photogrammetry until you try it. But once you try it, you will know. Now, not to get too deep in the woods, there is a little trick here where you can tell. I actually click on one of these files that say 3D object and take a look at it in the Windows. Now that the picture's up, you can actually tell that is real 3D. Otherwise, you would just see a flat mesh, but you can actually see the 3D photography there. Now that I've used my 3D tool, I want to open developers mode in the simulator. As you know, it's general options, developers, own, apply and save. Now I can just go back and resume. Now I'm going to open up the project editor. The project editor is open. I see inspector and I see project editor. I'm going to open up project. So I hit project, open project, and here's my package. So once I click on it, I'm going to drop down to this XML file and click on it and hit open. Now once it is open, I want to click on your scenery file right here. And when you do, it'll show my scene and model lib, along with other information up here where you can actually name this. I will give it a name just because. Okay, I gave it the name Paducah, Kentucky Earth, and this will actually show up in your content manager this way. I will build this package just like I always do. NEP Studio is the name I go by. I'm going to go ahead and add the picture I normally use. There it is. At this time, I'm going to build the package. Nothing will work until the package is built. Now, when you build these Earth packages, it takes the package a little longer to build. So I'll speed it up and then I'll tell you how long it actually took to build. Oh, and this dialog box will click up. You want to click yes and it will start to build the package. Okay, our package is built, and in reality The package took 1 minute and 43 seconds to build. Now I have a fast computer. With my older computer, when I first got to Sim, some of these packages would take 10, 15, 20 minutes. Depending upon the speed of your computer, you'll have to have a little patience because it could take a little bit of time. So keep that in mind while the package is building. It may seem like things are going wrong, but in reality, they are probably not going wrong, and it's just taking your computer a little bit of time to build it. Now the package is built, we can hit the window and turn the console off. We want to go to My Scene and hit Load in Editor. That's My Scene, Load in Editor. You don't need the Material Editor, so if it pops up, just click it off, and you patiently wait while all the files are loading in. Okay, the scenery files are loaded in. You can see the coordinates here of the maps. And in reality, this probably took about 3 minutes, but it did load in. It will depend upon the speed of your computer, how much time that it takes for the scenery to load in. With the scenery loaded in, we can already start to see that we were successful, as we can start to see buildings now. So at this point, I want to build an exclusion polygon to get rid of all the buildings that the artificial intelligence in the simulator tries to generate. At this point, you can see where I've already built, so you can kind of follow that line. I'm going to build exclusion polygon to get rid of the artificial intelligence buildings. I made a whole tutorial on how to build polygons. You may want to refer to that if you do not know how to build exclusion and inclusion polygons. I'm going to build that right now. And to do that, we want to go up to our Scenery tab on our Objects panel. In the event all these tools do not come up, you can go up to Developer menu right here, hit your Tools, and make sure your Scenery Editor, your Project Editor is on. And you can also go down here to the View on the Scenery Editor and make sure your objects are on. You're going to need the Object folder on. From the Objects folder, I'm going to click on this menu right here, which has Scenery, and I'm going to go down to Polygon. There it is. I'm going to hit Add and use my left mouse button to build my polygon. And double click to end it. Now it's not perfect, but it's close enough for this tutorial. Once I have my polygon built, I want to go to View, Properties. The Properties window will pop up. Buildings, Exclude All. And that excludes all the self-generated buildings in the sim. So now let's see what we have. I can see Broadway Methodist Church. This church is probably 100 years old. Now I will tell you that you will run into some things you may not like you'll see some weird looking trees. There's nothing that can be done about that. If you go to Google Earth and keep zooming down, you'll see this same phenomenon in Google Earth. if you want to get picky about it, you can go in and make inclusion polygons, add some more trees to try to cover this up. But in all honesty, when you're flying over it, you're not going to see that. Now there is a little problem with the river here, and there's a way to fix that. As you can see, we have a little issue with the river here, so I'm going to fix that. So you have to use a little subtle touch here, but I'm going to build another polygon. I'm still in my polygon. I'm going to add a polygon. And I'm not going to be totally precise with it. I'm going to get in the ballpark. Double click. Polygon is built. And what I'm going to do with this polygon is I'm going to raise the world up just a little bit so that the river actually covers this ugly look. To do that, I'm going to go back to Properties, and I'm going to click on Terraforming. Now, the Terraforming shows a 200-foot fall off. That's fine. You can lower it all the way down to 1 or take it as large as you want, but basically we're going to be raising the world up. Here's the fall off, and I don't know if this is meters or feet, but you can see where the polygon will fall off, so it kind of gives you a gradual edge. And then I'm going to go over here to my gizmo. Hopefully your gizmo's up. If your gizmo's not up, you can bring it up by hitting your view menu here and clicking on gizmo. In the gizmo you have your lat, your long, and your altitude of this polygon, because the polygon is selected. This is 102 feet, so I'm going to take it up, say 10 feet, and that should take care of it. So that would be 112. Hit enter. That did raise the whole world up a little bit, but if we go down and look at it, it shouldn't look too bad. Well, maybe I went a little too high, so I'll take that back down to by 5 feet, 107. And that's not too bad. There you go. That looks pretty good. Now that we have our 3D scenery inserted, we put our exclusion polygon around the city to get rid of the Microsoft buildings. I built a polygon here to make the river look a little better. We're ready to save the scenery. So we want to hit Save Scenery. We go to our package, open it up, go down to Package Sources and open it up. We're going to go down to Scene and open it up. When you finally get to the bottom, there should be no more folders. And we're actually naming the shapefile. That's the polygons that we built. So I'm just going to call it Paducah Polys. One word. Then I'm going to hit Save. Now my polygons are saved. So now we're ready to build the package one last time. I'm going to click right here, close these. And then we're going to build the package. That's real time, so it did not take very long to build the package. But the package is built, so now I'm going to close the console and exit out of the tools. Okay, our package is built, everything's in place, and now we're going to move the package to the community folder. Keep in mind, this will not work until you restart the sim. So I have my scenery folder here. I have my community folder here. I want to go to my scenery folder. Double click. Drill down to packages. Once you open the package, you'll see your scenery folder. But I'm going to copy this and then paste it into my community folder. takes it a minute. There we are. We're going to restart the sim without developer mode on, go back to my hometown, use a drone camera, and see how things look. The sim has restarted. We're no longer in developers mode. We are back in my old town, and we're going to take a look and see what the scenery looks like. Before we do, I want to address something. I recently had a viewer reach out to me on YouTube and say they could not get the package to work. They say the package works in developers mode, but it does not work when they're out of developers mode. The solution to this is very simple, because there's only one thing that can cause it, and that means the package is not in your community folder. The person did explain they followed the video to a T, but they could not see it. I explained to the person to check their community folder and make sure the package is in the community folder. I have not heard back from the person, so I do not know if they were successful. But that is a must. The package has to be in the community folder. Out of developers mode, if I zoom over to an area where I've worked and I don't see anything, there's a problem in the community folder. So you need to double check that, follow the instructions as you saw here, and make sure the package is in there. Now let's go look at downtown Paducah. Here we are downtown Paducah. You can see the buildings. They look really good. You can see where the 3D photogrammetry is in, and you can see here where the AI generated buildings are, which do not look very good. But downtown looks very good. I'm very pleased with this. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. If it is helpful to you, please leave a like, please subscribe, leave a comment, share it with your friends, and thanks for watching.